Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Ask the Expert. Today, our Ask the Expert is with Kevin Brannon, and he's from Reel Guppy Outdoors. He has a really cool business in Oxnard, Port Hueneme, and he helps though everybody in the Ventura County can be involved. And I have known Kevin through the Ventura Chamber of Commerce, and he just keeps doing great things. So I wanted to ask him on as our expert of fishing and ocean and all the things that he's doing. So welcome, Kevin. Thank you for coming today and talking to me.
When are you going to come fishing? We're still waiting for you to come out.
I know. I got it. If it's Sundays, I always work. So maybe on one of those Saturday days, I do want to come because I actually really love ocean fishing and fishing. I just don't get to do it very much. So
stop by our center anytime. We'll show you how to do it off the dock.
Perfect. So, for everybody who's out there who doesn't know anything about Kevin, Kevin, why don't you tell us about yourself first and, tell us just a little about you and your, how you got here.
So I am Kevin Brannon, Community Kevin. I'm a host of a television show called Real Anglers Fishing Show. I am a fourth generation Port Hueneme kid. We've been out here over about 100 years off of Hueneme Road. I ventured out to Port Hueneme sport fishing. When I was about 11, I would sneak on the dock and fish, and it would kick me off, and finally gave me a job working on boats. And I kind of tell you just real quick since, we only got a few minutes. And I started this TV show called Real Anglers Fishing Show. And then when I would take my kids out fishing on the weekend, some of the kids in our little neighborhood, I remember them saying like, oh, I wish somebody would take me fishing. So I remember being that same kid without a dad to help them or fishing poles to do it with. So we started inviting a couple kids out fishing with us, and we called it the Real Anglers Kids Fishing Day. And we would give the kids, my kids would be my first volunteers and my friends' kids, and started kind of, just friends and family trying to help me out with this idea. And we would give the kids a camera. We called it the Guppy camera. We would let them film it, and then we would stick those little pieces that we got out of what they filmed into the actual segment that we were filming for the TV show. And I was trying to get some sponsors to help me with the TV show for advertising. I was an exterminator at the time and a student at Oxnard College for the film program to make this film, Real Anglers Fishing Show. I wanted an educational TV show that would get more average Joes and Janes out fishing, while also highlighting and showcasing California's backdrop and the Channel Islands and where we live at, kind of like a PBS Reading Rainbow kind of a style. Those always been my favorite shows when I was growing up. And we're at the Latino Business Expo, and I was trying to get sponsors to run little short commercials when we were on Channel 3. That was our first television premiere. It was on Channel 3 KEYT. It was like Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and Ventura counties, KEYT. So left the Latino Expo, and I called Adam Casillas and was like, hey, you think any of those businesses would help me, raise some fun, like help support this kid fishing program I'm trying to run? So he said, why don't you start a nonprofit, and they could write it off as a tax write-off. So we formed a nonprofit, me and a couple friends of mine, and you need board members and bylaws and articles of incorporation and stuff like that to start a nonprofit. So we did it, and we called it Real Guppies. We used that term guppy from the Guppy camera, and that's how we came up with the term Reel Guppy Outdoors. So Real Anglers Fishing Show host and producer and founder, and then started Reel Guppy Outdoors as a nonprofit about 9 years ago, an actual 501c3, so that we can get write-offs. And then, I'm just a kid from out here that grew up understanding what we have in our backyard and our environment. I'm not a scholar. I'm more of an artist, so I also want to showcase that there's career pathways and to chase your dream and go after your dream and be a visionary. The American dream still is alive. Don't let the institutions or anybody tell you it's not, and that you can accomplish the things that you want. So utilizing fishing to ask for help like people do when they come out with us, or, learning about ecosystem and habitats and how the world navigates, that if you could use some of those same principles or metaphors into being as successful, like the term, if you teach a man to fish, he'll live for life, versus if you give him one. So there's these other things that we tie into this platform, in my story and my reach and my partnerships that I've created with government agencies and stuff from coast to coast to bring all this stuff together. And that's kind of the Real Angler Network, which is Reel Guppy Outdoors and Real Anglers Fishing Show.
That's great. Now, and now you have, so you have the show, but then you tell everybody who's listening a little bit more about, because you do some really cool things with Real Guppy Outdoors. You do
Coolest
some great
things.
things with schools, and you do things with the kids who, like you said, wouldn't have an opportunity to ever put a fishing pole in their hand. Tell us a little bit of some of the things about that part of your business.
So I've always had this idea of being a teacher. When I grow up, I want to be an educator. I want to be a teacher. So I get to educate and teach in schools or on my own program, but also from a different perspective of, again, just being a scholar, that, some people, school is not their thing. I used to just go fishing, right? So I'm not encouraging anybody to do that. But what I'm going to encourage when I go into these schools and talk to them is about, you know, don't let those hurdles get in your way, right? And so that's kind of the fun I get to do in the schools, because sometimes the teachers want me to talk about fishing. Sometimes they want me to tell my story, of how I
Mhm.
grew up and where I came from. So depending on how they want me to, spend that hour in a classroom, it goes back and forth. And then also like the part about people not having a fishing pole in their hand. Again, sometimes it's just, it's not an economic breakdown. It's just you go into a store and what do you purchase or buy, right? It's like, wow, look at all this fishing gear is intimidating. Not everybody in America had a John Smith grandpa that's been fishing in Montana with a can of worms forever, but fishing is an international recreation sport. People do it for food. Fishing is something that happens in everywhere in the world. It's everywhere. So, and then also the nerdy part about it is, there are career pathways on the water. You want to be a marine biologist, you want to be a boat captain, you want to be a ranger at the Channel Islands National Park. So I'm able
Mhm.
to give them exposure schools. And we also, one of the things that we do is we're a family engagement program, which makes us unique. Again, we're not a kid program where we isolate the children separate from the adults. Like, we're a family engagement program. We want you guys to do this stuff together on your own, in your own backyard. Like I say, it's not always an economic breakdown. Sometimes we get this, and I hate it, because if you tokenize or try to pimp poverty, I have a problem with that. I don't
Mhm.
think that's the drum you gotta bang on to get people out there, right? Like, we're a charitable organization, but charity is always looked at as like the less thans, and that's
Mhm.
not what we want to be. We don't want to be an organization where we got poor kids on the cover trying to come
Right.
out and support this, like the Sally Struthers way, right? Let's find the poorest of the kids to serve. That's not always again, I don't go to Ojai to ride horses and it's up the hill, so that doesn't make me a barrier because I don't want to ride a horse. People don't want to do it. So I really mindful of the way we talk about the work that we do, that we're not here trying to just serve underprivileged
Yeah.
poor kids in the Oxnard area, right? That we're here to
Right.
again inspire people to do things together, enjoy the outdoors in their backyard. And again, where we live at in our backyard is one of the places that people come to traveling all the time.
I
So
totally agree, like with the, because, and you and I have talked, I really do actually want to go, but I always teach classes on Sunday when you have the open one. But I loved ocean fishing when I was a teenager and I knew people who were on fishing boats, so I could go. But you're exactly right. Like, I go in and I'm like, I don't know what fishing pole I'm supposed to do. I don't know where the best places are to fish. I don't even remember, like, I was fishing off a boat. What's it like to fish off the shore? Like, as an adult who has those capabilities, I mean, I fly fished with my dad and my ex father-in-law when I was younger, and I love that too. But I'm like, but I always did it with somebody. I never learned how to do it on my own, but you need that help. And then once you can start helping people find their passion and their path of going out fishing on their own after they worked with you.
yeah, but I fish by myself all the time. Again, that's
Yeah.
just people's own insecurity. Like, why can't you
So
get a fishing pole and just go to the pier, or get on
totally.
a boat people you don't know? Why are you afraid
Right.
to be around strangers?
Right.
Right. Again, there's other aspects that we teach then, right? Like
Uh,
confidence, right? Like, I really want to do
totally.
that, but so those
All
are
right.
just so in our office we have these two cards that you're not allowed to play with us. You can play the race card, whatever card, right? And two cards is like excuses and blame, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the things, like, what is it, right? Oh, I
Yeah.
work all the time. So you're too busy to enjoy yourself.
Right.
Oh, well, okay. So, like, so again, one of the things that we talk about, because there's organizations that will come up with a handful of barriers that try
Right.
to use that as a reason, again, to pimp poverty, where I don't think that's true. Like, oh, they can't go fishing because their parents work. Well, wait a minute. Everybody has to work. Well,
Right.
so we all work. So you got finances, you got it. So you're just too busy, or you don't prioritize spending some
Yeah.
time out there, right? Because I do a lot of stuff in fisheries management. So we're also
Hmm.
looking at why people, if they're buying fishing poles or rods or fishing licenses, right? Why are sales down? Is it because our fishing industry it does look like it is a good old boy sport, right?
Right,
It looks like that on TV, that you do need a bass boat and you need fishing
right.
rods. So maybe it's commercialized to kind of maybe keep a layer of segregation with intentional or unintentional that makes it look like it's out of reach for people, because the way that it looks like on television, I need a bass boat, I need to be in Cabo San Lucas, right? Versus again, we could go find
And
something that maybe we could really do.
and
And
we
again,
have
go ahead.
we have such a beautiful place here, being, I mean, Ventura County, our beaches are so amazing. You don't have to go really far to go, have these beautiful things. Now, you also have a studio you were just talking about. So you have a studio. Where is that located? So if someone wanted to come find you, where would
We
that
are,
be?
well, first off, if you Google communitykevin.com, you'll see Real Anglers Fishing Show, Reel Guppy Outdoors, the address we're in the Channel Islands Harbor is where our facility is at. But we do a lot of our work on the Port Hueneme Pier. And the reason we
Mhm.
choose the pier is because nobody needs a fishing license, right? It's really basic. We use crab nets to show them how to catch to pull them up. The fish aren't biting because we can't always make the fish bite, and that's just going to be how it is. So we do our pier fishing days off the Wainimi Pier or Ventura, but our facility is in the Fisherman's Wharf in Channel Islands Harbor, right down there on the corner of Victoria and Channel Islands Boulevard, and they're about to do some remodeling there, call it Carl's Land, and modify that, redevelop that area pretty soon. But our learning center is there. And again, it's not a fishing center, it's a learning center. So we're
Mhm.
going to teach you with our guest speakers that come in. We're going to teach you rod building, financial literacy, do the television show. Some of our high school students get a chance to do internships for multimedia and business development. So that's what we call it, a learning center versus a fishing center, is because there's a
Right.
lot more development that we bring in than just fishing. We have a bunch of artifacts. It's like a living museum where, I mean, you could touch everything, seashells and old fishing rods and old lures, the history of fishing,
Do
all
you
that news.
guys Are you guys open every day or certain days of the
Every
week? What are
day.
your
We are
every
open
day?
every day. That's again what's unique about us, because again, a lot of some organizations are closed on the weekend and they can't do stuff with kids and families because they're Monday through Friday. We're open until 8 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursday and Friday nights.
Hmm.
And Saturday and Sunday we're there from 10 to 5. Only time we might be closed is, let's say we're going to Santa Cruz Island with our graduates and we want to bring the whole team. But normally there's somebody there with the doors open every single day.
Perfect. And then, like you said, they can go in and just explore too. So if they want to look at the artifacts, they want to learn about different things. They don't have to just go, oh, I'm coming to go fishing. I can come to explore other things. So
Yep.
you have a big variety of things. And you mentioned that you have guest speakers sometimes. How often do you have guest speakers?
Usually, right now, it's on the third Saturday that we have a guest
Mhm.
speaker come in. But now that we have these open evenings at night, we're looking to have, like, we've had some banks come in to do financial literacy classes. And that's usually Thursday nights, but we're going to have some more guest speakers come in. We're going to have our interns. That's part of their project-based learning, is have them calling to book the speakers to come up. There's different organizations that you might be familiar with, especially our chamber partners, to come in, weave for the women economics and just other, because, I think I just left a school and they're talking about career day. And I think
Mhm.
storytelling, me being a documentary filmmaker, that's what I went to school for, to start the TV show, is hearing people's stories. So if you could come in and tell our participants and the parents, because some parents too could be maybe stuck at a job that you don't really like being at, right? And you want to make a shift, but maybe you had to. So what we say, real quick, I'm going to pause and say, we lure them in with fishing and then we brainwash them in to take over the world, because I didn't go back to school till I was 28, right, to be a filmmaker. So, and I had 3 kids already too. So if somebody is doing something that they don't want to do, maybe somebody else's story could spark them to start the journey on the life that they would rather live.
Right.
So come in and tell your story. I do this job. I love what I get to do. Maybe some people don't know that this is actually a career, especially like artists, musicians, and artists that are making a living doing art. Somebody like you that's working with animals, somebody's like, I can make a living as my own boss.
Right.
Now there's a time frame and a capacity to do it, but you can create it.
Right. I
So
actually
having
was at Cal Lutheran University last week, and I was a professor for a day. So I got to teach a class, and part of that was teaching them about what kind of psychology stuff they can use, like classical conditioning, operant learning, but how they can use it in different aspects. And so we got to talk about as a dog trainer, but also, helping other people with similar psychology. So I think it's fun to explore let people have ideas about what their careers could be. Because I thought I wanted to work with animals since I graduated high school, but they told me, well, the only thing you could be is a vet. So I started down that path, and that wasn't my path. And then I became a vet tech, which I loved, but I always wanted to do behavior. But nobody knew this was even a thing, you know? And so I think and I love what you said, where you said you lured them in and then catch them, because you get them in and they're interested in fishing, but that's just it could be just a hobby or an aspect. Maybe their career will be something different, but they'll still have that fishing as a pastime, you know, or something.
And plus, when I was like, some of the, like, I'm not a sports guy really. Like, all the sports that I do are one man. I don't like being yelled at, you know. So when coaches start yelling, I would get kicked off a team, or fighting, or bad behavior. But fishing, bodybuilding, surfing, like, some of us are into more independent type of, you know, recreation too, right? So our organization offers that aspect too, you know, that maybe some of those other recreations, again, are for everybody, right? So the cool thing about us having a family engagement program, one of them might be loving the fishing, the other one might like the outdoor nerdy stuff, some might be in the environmental stewardship part of us doing coastal cleanups. So again, it gives them a chance to really showcase, you know, all these different aspects. So if you go to our, again, communitykevin.com to go to Reel Guppies, or even both of them, you'll see like first Saturday, second Saturday, third Saturday. And if you come as a family, then you're going to find, everybody might find something different. Again, if you're not the fisherman, but the parents want you to try. Because when I was coaching baseball, I know parents would sign their kids up for baseball that had no interest at all at playing baseball. And they're out in left field playing with the clovers and not paying attention. But the parents are putting them in there just so that way they could start working on their socializing. So that's what's cool about us, because since I'm the founder and I look at these ways of me not being a scholar and, you know, the different aspects, like I did my own research and development. And another part about it is the development. When we were coaches or helping out with the scouts, sometimes I feel like the kids weren't able to explore as much. They were kind of dictated on what they were going to do. And I didn't like that aspect either. This way you get to find out what you like to do, right? So by having it that way, seeing how people think the right thing to do is to kind of shoehorn them or think what's best for them, we like to be like, okay, what would you really like to do? And then kind of let them help. And that way you develop them and they like to experience it, right? Versus just go wait out there in left field and come in. And the kid's like, again, that was me, right? So I put myself in there, and it's like, well, the parents, they did it. So sometimes, again, parents will sign them up for this, but knowing they could come together and hearing their testimonials and their surveys, again, it's so much little neat little pockets in this organization.
For sure. And so as you're talking about, so who does your business can benefit so many people. So it's like kids, but it could be adults, like you said, families. If a adult wanted to come that didn't have, you know, kids, do you encourage that? I mean,
Yep.
who is your audience anywhere? Pretty much anybody?
Everywhere. And there's a kid in all of us, we tell them, you know? So come on out and check it out. That's why we try to get away from this thing like, oh, you're a guy that takes kids fishing. It used to drive me crazy up until recently, because it's like, we don't just take kids fishing. Like, I gotta paint. That's like saying Oprah Winfrey only does a talk show. You know, it's like, no, we have this lavish. So come down and take a tour, do videos, but that really shortchanges what our mission really is, right? There is a kid in all of us. And I think we impact the whole world, you know, again, whether it's from sustainability practices to encouraging to education to fishing to fisheries management, catching groceries, like something about nature too for everybody. Just being outdoors, we call it vitamin C, SEA, like vitamin C. There's just such a cool place for us to get out to. That way you don't always say like, oh, I'm so busy, I can't do. If you can't take 20 minutes, because again, fighting with some of these orgs about trying to come up with these barriers, it's not too far. If you don't let your kid ride his bike a mile, then maybe you're a little over parenting, right? If you can't make 20 minutes to go down to the beach, like, I don't know, right? Like, you go to Magic Mountain in Disneyland and drop that loot, you don't even see each other. So I just real like, that's, I mean, how our impactfulness is, that, you know, that's just more people trying to find reasons not to do something where, again, it's intimidating. That's why I say we impact the whole world. Something that everything we do is highlights something was going to get a kick out of it, no matter who you are, what you're doing, you know?
I love that. My kids are all grown now, so I don't have little ones anymore. But when I was, you know, parenting, you know, young kids, something like this, you know, I didn't know you then, and you know, they're all 18 to 22 now. So you may not have been existent yet, but it would be.
We've been around 30, we've been around 15 years.
Yeah. So I just didn't know about you, but it would have been, for me, I loved, yes, my kids did some of the sports, and some of the sports they loved, some of the sports they didn't love. But I would have really enjoyed doing something where I could have done it with my kids, but so many things are drop off your kids, they go to practice, they go to the game, or they go to this, thing. And I was always one who wanted to be more involved. So I would have loved something like this where I could have done it. So hopefully people are listening who, or maybe have that shy kid who needs to get started with you, but once they get comfortable there, it'll build their confidence, because they'll get comfortable with you and your studio and, helping
We
them
build
build those.
confidence. That's for sure.
Mhm.
That's, I think, one of the
Yeah.
things we do is even just learning how to cast the rod or cut bait or put bait on a hook. You'll see them start to get that confidence, and then they start helping out a new person that's coming in. Right. I kind of attribute it to what you do. I remember I used to say, I'm like, because I would bring my kids and their friends, and it's like the dog whisperer. He had his little pack of dogs, Caesar Million, and he would bring out his little pack of dogs, and they would find one that needed a little bit more loving, right? But he had his little crew with him of animals. And that's kind of what I used to say too, is as far as what we do is bringing the kids along. Then they get to see other kids doing it, and that might help. Yeah, whether they're
Yeah,
shy
just
or
to
whatever.
build that confidence. Yeah, I could really see where, that could help. And then,
Because I'll tell you why. If you don't have it now, you will not have it when you get older, right?
right.
It's like if you're afraid to ask for help now, the older you get, the more you're trying to fit in and blend in, and you won't do it, right? Or again, you
Right.
get so busy that you don't look out for interests that you love to do. You get caught up in the everyday mundane work, and you're not getting any fulfillment, right? That's why it's good to bring the parents and people of all ages, because you never know what. I think Morgan Freeman was like 58 years old or something when he started his first acting gig. You're never too old either to explore or try things that you've always wanted to do, or you have children and they're older now. So now you can do some of the stuff that you put on the shelf because you had to parent for a little while. But we all have to parent, right? And that's what the fun of the thing it is. It's like,
Uh-huh.
there's choices in life that we made. So when they say barriers and it's hard to do, it's like, well, some of those you're in certain situations because of choices you decided to make too, right? So again, I know I used to be a personal trainer. So
Mhm.
you get people that come in and they're like, oh, my kids. Okay, so when your kids are at practice, what do? You sit in the
Right.
car? Are you
Right.
out there? Why can't you walk around the park, right? Like, why are you, if you're leaving them there, why don't you come to the gym for an hour and go back and pick them up, right?
Right.
So you'll start using your kids almost as a way to leverage why you're not living up to your full potential, right? And
Right.
it's like, man, stop. So that's why I say we don't use the term excuses, because I could give you all mine. Went back to school at 28 to do a film. I made sure I put 2 hours a day, a weekend, for us to build our legacy so that we could have a piece of the American pie. Like, I didn't settle for all the, reasonings that you figured out, your justification. Like, I don't mean to go long winded, but this really, because part of discovering outdoors is also discovering yourself, right?
Right.
You got to
Yeah.
discover the things that you like about you. You got to, some self discovery is important as well. So
And it really can be so healing for people, to be outside. And then when they're learning something, and I find in my own personal life, when I learn something new, it also helps me build resilience and know that I can overcome hard things. And there's just so many things that you can help kids with. And I just really love the aspect of it's anybody, and it can be a family experience, because it's not always easy to find places where you can have a family experience right now. Like you go out with, it's always, like you said, it's divided, kids and parents. But I think we should be doing more things. I'm just made up things to do with my kids. We went to the park, and we went to the beach, and we just did stuff, me with them. But having something where the parents can also just enjoy it and be with somebody. I think that's such a great thing that you offer. So now,
pretty
before
neat.
we finish up everything, what is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience? Will, you told us your website and where you can be located, and we can always, and people can find you, but is there anything else you would like the audience to know?
You could always be a part of it, if you have kids that want to do it, or if donors or if philanthropists are listening that want to, support an organization like this. Obviously it's a charitable aspect. So we're always looking for resources. You want to drop off used tackle or maybe be a volunteer, just check out communitykevin.com. Also like to encourage people that are listening, like, again, whatever your hopes and dreams are, to go after them. Don't let anybody stop you from doing what you're doing, and no matter what age you are, that you're still the author of your own book, and that you could still be creative and create the things that you want to. And again, no matter what, people use that term healing a lot, like what you've been through. Everybody's had traumatic experiences. So we kind of got to, again, just be like, okay, that happened. And how do we move forward? It's kind of like fishing, right? You got to tangle. This happened. You accidentally hooked yourself in the finger, right? Like, okay, well, that's going to help you to figure out the right way to get things done too, right? Like how not to do things. So again, wherever you're past that right now in life, just, check yourself to see if you're doing what you love to do. And that's what we teach kids: do what you love and love what you do. And ask for help if they're struggling in any way. Don't be afraid to talk to people and ask for help, no matter what age we are, to get to where you want to go. And then, yeah, if you're interested in helping support Reel Guppy Outdoors, if you're teachers or your schools and you're looking for, me to come into your classrooms and teach and bring our little artifacts and stuff that we have, you can reach out to us. All of our information is on there. communitykevin.com. Phone number is on there. Email, address, reach out, talk to us again. And if anybody's into, of course, making any monetary donations to one of the coolest nonprofits on the planet, we'd love to give anybody a tour of the facility and invite them to one of our adventures so they could see the work that we're doing and, become part of the Guppy family.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for being on today and telling us all about your business and more things in Port Hueneme and Oxnard too, just to brighten everywhere. There's so many great things. So thank you very much for being here. And I'm sure I will see you soon. But
you got to come fishing. You got to
I know
stop
I
coming
will.
up with excuses. You got to stop. You got to come during the week. You get VIP.
That's what I got to do. I didn't realize you did them on the weekdays. So I thought it was just Sunday. So I actually just made a note for myself to look at it so I can come either on the Friday or Saturday. Those are my days off.
Yeah, come right after the chamber breakfast. You just come down Harbor Boulevard and just, come for half an hour and then go about your day and watch the calming effect of like, wow, this is so. And that is one thing real quick, I'll tell people, man, like God is so good. For us to have this facility on the Channel Islands where we're located, I'm so grateful and blessed every day to share it, like to go out there and see commercial boats behind our dock and see, the where you could rent a boat and the glassy water and the palm trees and the birds. Like, it's just such a relaxing place. So even if you just want to come down and check it out and see, like, again, and this is free. Everything, by the way, everybody listen, everything we do is pretty much for free, unless I'm a vendor in a school because they have funding. Majority of our stuff is all free, right? But for you to go down to the harbor, pull over your car, pull up there, let the kids run up the rocks and the jetty, like, again, it's stuff we got to start like spending intentional time connecting with nature and outdoors, man, honestly.
For sure, for sure. So, well, thank you so very much. And hopefully all of you who are listening will check out Kevin's website and see whether you want to get involved or donate or anything, because it's a pretty great organization. So thanks again, Kevin. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. I've been thinking about this all day. Thank you.